Today, people, we have one of the most interesting what-ifs that is related to Pretty Cure. What if Meiko as Cure Ace? Yes, Pretty Cure Doki Doki, 2013. What if? If you are a Doki Doki Pretty Cure fan, why all should be excited, let's start. So let's break down how the first arc changes if Meiko gets to be Cure Ace. If Meiko from VOCLOID replaced Aguri Madoka as Cure Ace during the Cure Ace arc of Doki Doki. Pre-Cure, the arc would change dramatically. Unlike Aguri, who is a mysterious, strict 10-year-old tied to Princess Marie-Ange, Meiko is portrayed in most VOCLOID media as a confident, dependable young woman. That would completely change the group's dynamic while keeping Cure Ace's role as the team's trump card. Aguri originally debuts as a mysterious veteran Cure with a 5-minute transformation limit and pushes the others to become stronger. Episode 22. Cure Ace's debut. Instead of a mysterious little girl appearing out of nowhere, the battle would be interrupted by an unfamiliar red-clad woman. When Mana's team is overwhelmed by Leva and Gyula's stronger Jikachu, a crimson light cuts through the battlefield. Meiko transforms into Cure Ace with the Love Eyes palette, immediately displaying refined swordsmanship and elegant close-range combat. The other Cures are stunned. Mana admires her courage. Rika immediately wants to know who she is. Alice is curious about her connection to AI. Makoto senses that this Cure has fought before. Rather than criticizing the team after the battle like Aguri often did, Meiko simply says, "You're strong, but strength alone won't save everyone. Fight with trust." She leaves before anyone can question her. That first impression is far warmer than Aguri's. Mana's reaction. Mana becomes fascinated with Meiko instead of frustrated. She constantly tries to discover. Why does AI trust her? Why has nobody seen her before? Why does she disappear after only 5 minutes? Mana would view Meiko as someone she wants to learn from rather than someone constantly lecturing her. Relationship with the other Cures. Rika. Meiko and Rika would quickly develop mutual respect. Rika enjoys logical planning. Meiko has years of battle experience. The two would often devise strategies together before fights. Alice. Alice appreciates maturity and kindness. Meiko's calm personality allows the two to become close surprisingly quickly. Alice even notices that Meiko hides emotional pain beneath her confidence. Meiko. This becomes the strongest new relationship. Makoto still struggles with failing to protect Princess Marie-Ange. Meiko understands survivor's guilt. Instead of criticizing Makoto's hesitation, she trains beside her. One conversation might go, "Makoto, I wasn't strong enough." Meiko, "No one is, that's why we fight together." Makoto recovers her confidence much sooner. Regina. This is where the arc changes the most. Aguri viewed Regina as the other half of Marie-Ange and was often harsh toward her. Meiko takes a completely different approach. She recognizes Regina isn't purely evil. Instead of trying to defeat Regina first, she repeatedly tries to save her. Whenever Regina loses control, Meiko shields her from attacks rather than striking immediately. Regina becomes confused. "Why are you protecting me?" Meiko replies, "Because someone once believed I could still choose the right path." This plants doubts in Regina's mind much earlier. Team dynamic. Instead of becoming the strict teacher of the team, Meiko becomes its experienced older sister. She encourages everyone individually. Mana becomes a better leader. Rika gains more confidence in her decisions. Alice becomes bolder in combat. Makoto overcomes her guilt sooner. The group becomes emotionally closer much faster. Battles. Meiko fights differently from Aguri. She combines Cure Ace's abilities with an elegant, rhythmic style inspired by her musical background. Her attacks would feel almost choreographed. Examples include graceful sword combinations with the love kiss rouge, flame-like movements that resemble a stage performance, using songs or rhythmic timing to coordinate team attacks while staying within Cure Ace's established powers. Even with the 5-minute limit, she'd make every second count through efficiency instead of overwhelming power. The 5-minute limit. Rather than hiding the weakness, Meiko tells the team immediately, "I only have 5 minutes. After that, you're on your own." The others begin timing battles around her transformation. Rika even develops battle plans based on those 5 minutes. This turns the limitation into a tactical challenge rather than a surprise. Regina's redemption. Because Meiko treats Regina with compassion instead of suspicion, Regina starts questioning King Jikachu's ideals much earlier. Several confrontations become conversations rather than simple fights. While Regina would still struggle with her father's influence, her path toward redemption would likely begin sooner and with less hostility. End of the Cure Ace arc. When the royal crystals reunite AI and restore more of the truth surrounding Marie-Ange, Meiko finally reveals why she fought alone. She wanted to make sure the new generation of pretty cures could stand on their own before she relied on them. Instead of ending the arc as a mysterious outsider, she fully joins the team as a trusted mentor and friend. Overall, replacing Aguri with Meiko would make the Cure Ace arc feel much more collaborative and emotionally supportive. Team chemistry, much stronger. Mentorship, experienced guide instead of strict instructor. Regina's redemption begins earlier through empathy. Makoto's character growth benefits greatly from Meiko's encouragement. Mystery element reduced since Meiko is more open about her intentions. Emotional warmth, the team feels like a family much sooner. Overall, this version of the Cure Ace arc would shift from a story about proving oneself to a mysterious new ally into one about learning from a seasoned hero whose compassion helps bring the team and Regina closer together. Now, after all of that, we all think, how would the fans react to Meiko as Cure Ace? Let's find out. If we imagine this alternate timeline had actually aired in 2013 as the official version of Doki Doki Pre-Cure, I think the fandom's reception to Cure Ace would likely have been noticeably more positive. It probably wouldn't eliminate all criticism, but it would address several of the biggest complaints fans had at the time. Here's how I think the reception might have looked. Initial reveal, huge excitement. When Meiko first appeared as Cure Ace, many viewers would probably be surprised because she would be an adult instead of a child. Calm and experienced. Immediately likable. Many fans in 2013 were expecting Cure Ace to be an older or previously unseen heroine before Aguri's identity was revealed. An adult Cure debuting halfway through the series would have felt like a refreshing twist. Fan reactions might have been, "Wait, she's actually an adult pretty Cure." The biggest complaint disappears. One of the most common criticisms of Aguri was how she suddenly appeared late in the story and often acted as though she was already better than the rest of the team. In your version, Meiko doesn't lecture the others. Instead, she says things like, "I'll help you become stronger." That changes the audience's perception. Instead of feeling like she's replacing everyone, fans would feel she's helping everyone. That difference is surprisingly important. Mana's spotlight isn't stolen. Another complaint some viewers had was that Cure Ace sometimes seemed to overshadow Mana and the other established cures. Meiko's mentor role avoids this. Instead of defeating every enemy herself, she'd help the others improve so they could win together. Fans would likely comment, "Mana still feels like the main character. Ace makes the team stronger instead of making them look weak." Regina fans would love it. Regina was one of the most popular characters in Doki Doki Pre-Cure. One criticism from parts of the fandom was that the conflict between Regina and Cure Ace could feel harsh. With Meiko constantly trying to understand Regina instead of immediately judging her, fans would probably respond very positively. Online discussions might say, "Finally, someone is trying to save Regina. Meiko understands Regina better than anyone." This could make Regina's redemption arc even more emotional. Meiko herself becomes popular. Meiko already had an established fan base from the VOCALOID community. If she were somehow an official Pretty Cure character in this alternate canon, you'd likely see crossover fan art, songs, and discussions from both fandoms. People might praise her for being mature, dependable, protective, elegant in battle, an older sister figure. She would stand out from many previous Pretty Cure editions. Would Cure Ace have fewer haters? I think yes, significantly fewer. Not because everyone would suddenly love the character. Every major character has critics. But because many of the original criticisms were aimed at how Cure Ace was introduced and written, rather than at her powers or design. In this alternate version, heavy checkmark, she's supportive rather than overly critical. Heavy checkmark, she develops genuine friendships with the team. Heavy checkmark, she strengthens Mana instead of overshadowing her. Heavy checkmark, she shows compassion toward Regina. Heavy checkmark, she acts like an experienced mentor rather than an infallible prodigy. Those changes directly address several common fan complaints. Legacy years later. Looking back from today, fans might remember this version of Cure Ace with comments like, "One of the best mid-season cures. She had one of the strongest mentor roles in the franchise. Her relationship with Regina was one of the highlights of Doki Doki. She proved that an adult Pretty Cure could work as a full-time team member." Overall, in this alternate canon, Cure Ace would likely enjoy a much stronger reputation than in the original series. While no character is universally loved, Meiko's warmer personality, mentor-like leadership, and more collaborative role would probably earn her a larger fan base and substantially reduce the level of criticism that the original Cure Ace received. Now let's find out if Meiko could become a better skilled Cure Ace than the original one. Yes, I think Meiko could realistically master all of Cure Ace's abilities, and in your alternate timeline, she could even surpass Aguri in several areas. However, I think it would make the most sense if this happened gradually over the course of the series rather than immediately. Here's how I'd compare them. Transformation. Meiko would have no trouble mastering the Love Eyes palette and her transformation. Unlike Aguri, who was effectively born connected to Cure Ace's power, Meiko would likely approach it like a professional. Learning every function. Practicing repeatedly. Refining her techniques through experience. Her mature mindset would help her stay composed even in dangerous situations. Result equal to Aguri. Physical combat. This is where Meiko could surpass the original Cure Ace. Aguri mainly relied on speed and precise martial arts. Meiko's fighting style would probably combine graceful martial arts, powerful kicks, elegant sword techniques, battlefield awareness. Instead of rushing opponents, she'd read their movements before striking. By the second half of the series, she could become one of the franchise's most technically skilled close-range fighters. Advantage, Meiko. Love Kiss Rouge. Aguri uses the Love Kiss Rouge very effectively. Meiko could master every form of it just as well. But because of her creativity, she might discover new ways to use it. For example, shielding teammates, creating feints, combining attacks with the other cures, chaining multiple techniques together. Instead of simply firing one finishing move after another, she'd make the Rouge part of her overall fighting style. Advantage, slightly Meiko. 5-minute limit. The original Cure Ace often treated the time limit as something she simply had to endure. Meiko would likely adapt around it. She'd divide every battle into phases. For example, Minute 1-2. Analyze the enemy. Minute 2-4. Fight aggressively. Minute 5. Set up Mana and the others to finish the battle after she powers down. Rather than viewing the limit as a weakness, she'd turn it into part of her strategy. Advantage, Meiko. Leadership. This is arguably her greatest strength. Aguri inspires the team through discipline. Meiko inspires them through encouragement and experience. Instead of saying, "You're still lacking," she'd say, "You've improved, now let's take the next step together." That makes everyone stronger without hurting morale. Mana would remain the team's leader, while Meiko naturally becomes a trusted mentor. Advantage, Meiko. Emotional intelligence. One area where Meiko would clearly excel is understanding others. She'd notice when Makoto blames herself, Rika doubts her plans, Alice quietly worries, Mana pushes herself too hard, Regina hides her loneliness. Rather than confronting them harshly, she'd help each character work through those feelings. This emotional support would strengthen the entire team. Advantage, Meiko. Could she invent new techniques? I think so. Since Meiko has a musical background as a VOCALOID character, it's easy to imagine her adapting Cure Ace's existing powers into techniques that emphasize rhythm and teamwork while staying true to Ace's overall abilities. Examples might include Ace Harmony Strike, coordinating perfectly timed attacks with the other Cures. Rouge Crescendo, building the power of successive strikes instead of unleashing everything at once. Scarlet Guard, using Cure Ace's energy defensively to protect teammates before launching a counterattack. These wouldn't replace Cure Ace's established abilities, but would expand on them through Meiko's own fighting style. Final battle. By the final arc, I imagine Meiko has completely mastered Cure Ace's powers. Instead of being the team's strongest member simply because she has exceptional power, she'd become one of the strongest because she combines excellent combat skills, tactical thinking, emotional maturity, teamwork, and the full mastery of Cure Ace's abilities. During the final confrontation, she wouldn't try to defeat the main villain alone. Instead, she'd help each Cure shine, coordinating their strengths into a united effort. Remember to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.